All right, now we're going. You said you had a topic today.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot. Something you and I've talked about. Firing people in a people first organization, or if you want to be a servant leadership person, or you want a people first leadership style, how do you fire people? Why do you fire people? And I've given it some thought, but I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Not because they're a bad person, they're just a bad fit.
Mm-hmm.
I'd start with that. Because as a Christian, I have to interrogate myself when it comes to those decisions. And ultimately, I have to reconcile that they're just not a good fit. And while that might sound crass or like reductionistic, it's more, there's more humility in that decision than I think most people tend to think there is. Because as a Christian, I see what I do as his business.
Mm-hmm.
Being a light, or trying to be, in an industry where there's a big victim mindset, there's broken individuals, both kids yearning and searching for an identity in life, and also older folks, middle-aged folks who have been dealt really bad hands. And a lot of thought goes into those decisions before those reasons.
How do you determine someone's not in the right seat, to use your words, or a good fit? I mean, we're flipping burgers, we're making sandwiches, we're stuffing tacos, we're deep frying chicken wings. I mean, it's not brain surgery. How do you determine then that someone's not in the right seat or not a good fit if what we're doing almost anybody could do?
So one of the reasons why I always liked watching the Cowboys in the late 2000s, right. So 7, 8, 9.
Right.
They had Wade Phillips as a defensive coordinator, mm-hmm. And he always said, one thing I admired about Wade is that if my guys didn't make plays, and it was my fault, not theirs. I didn't put them in position to make the play. And this is a guy who had DeMarcus Ware, mm-hmm. for one, and Sean Lee, and he just had stars on that defense, and in those late 2000s. And for somebody to have the ability to say that when you got a guy like DeMarcus Ware on your defense, it's like that's really saying something from a humility standpoint. So I see it the same way, David, where if we hire somebody for food, and it goes back to, no, let me just say this. There was a story. So one of my shift leads, well, let's go back even a little bit further. So we just have to ask ourselves, do we believe that 2 + 2 = 4?
Mm-hmm.
Do we also believe that 1 + 3 = 4? Okay. So just because we have an existing way of doing things doesn't mean we should stop seeking alternative or better ones. And one of my new shift leads, after her first shift, she came over and we're actually just talking down there in the driveway. She stopped by. She was letting me know how it went. And she said, Hunter, I just could not get one of our miners to use a pair of scissors to cut open the cantina chicken and pan it up properly. We just could not do that. And I said, did you ever consider using a Viper? And a Viper is a little pink plastic thing with a blade on the inside. Mm-hmm. You pinch it and it slices.
Kind of like a letter opener. Almost.
Yeah.
Right.
And she said, well, no, I never even thought about that because I only use the scissors. 2 + 2 = 4, where 1 + 3 = 4. So there's like that at a microcosmic level, that way of determining if somebody is in the right seat or a bad fit. It's like, well, are we using all the tools that we have available to help them? That's number one. And then number two, depending on where they're at, and on my roster, did we hire them in for food and they're just not very good at food? most people in this concept equate good with fast. So are they just really slow on the line? And if there's no position where they can seem to flourish, whether that's as the starter or the finisher or maybe even an expediter, it's like, okay, well, now what do we do with this person? But we have to open up. We just open up and just start thinking, well, maybe it's a different position altogether. And we've done this where we've taken really bad food champions and they've been great cashiers.
Mm-hmm.
They've been great service champions. They're not having to use their hands as much, they're just having to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think if we open ourselves up to more of that, and from zooming out a little bit, okay, so if it's not the tools that we're providing, maybe is it the actual position, going from food to service or service to food? Or are they just a bit of a unicorn in the sense where they're not great on food or service, but we can put them as just a utility person for their entire shift. So they're doing dish, they're breaking down boxes, they're replacing bibs when we need to. They're dropping fried product in the middle of rushes and bringing us our chicken strips and French fries and all of those things. And somebody who I think is a bit myopic might say, well, geez, that seems like a waste of labor to have somebody who's just a utility person. I would argue the fact that, well, no, since we're open until 4, we're actually saving a lot of hours on doing dishes and breaking down boxes later in the day. So the closes will be quicker to get them out of there. And then we're saving labor by people getting out at 4:45 as opposed to 6, right? So that was a really long-winded answer to your question, but I think that's you go through as many steps as you need to see if they really don't have a spot in your organization.
Is firing someone a gut reaction? In that, and I don't like this person, I'm going to fire him. Or do you have a mental checklist in your head, 2 or 3 items that you run through in your head? I mean, it eventually becomes almost instinctual that you're running through this checklist, so I don't want to say it's I mean, I've had to fire a lot of people over the course of my career. Hate firing people. Recognize that one of my, self-awareness, one of my weaknesses is I probably give people too much rope.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have or develop a mental checklist that you run down in your head so that you're not, I'm going to fire this person because I don't like them?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then it comes straight out of the book Traction. I think I don't know who wrote it. I always want to say Sullivan, but that's Jim Sullivan, and he wrote Multi-Unit Leadership. Anyways, it's right out of the book Traction, and it's GWC. Does this person get it? Does this person want it? Does this person have the capacity to do it?
Okay.
So I also use that when it comes to promoting people. But that is the initial thought process, is GWC. Do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity to do it?
Okay. It's a little more direct than what I mean, mine is, are they disruptive to the morale of my team?
Mm-hmm.
Are they holding back some of my high performers? If I let this person go, are my high performers going to perform even better?
Mm-hmm.
Are they disrupting those people? Are they disruptive to the mission, the values of my store, my unit, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Or would it be a kindness just to let them go? So I guess, I've been thinking about this a lot based on some conversations that you and I have. And it's like, when do I feel someone has to be terminated? And I've got to be fair. I can't fire, this person's doing this and this person's doing the same thing, and I'm going to fire that person, but I never fire this person. So firing has to be fair across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Not only from a servant leadership standpoint, but from a legal standpoint, you know, if you know, I fire you for not doing this in the job, then I have to fire everybody for not doing that in the job,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, can I do it with integrity? Or, I mean, I've gotten to a point, you know, I got to a point where I'm generally not firing people. You know, I'm firing probably the leaders more than I am the, you know, the frontline employee.
Mm-hmm.
But I check myself a lot in that, because we all work with people we don't like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I have to check myself and say, do I want this person fired just because I don't like them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or is this person disrupting my store or my unit or my division or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are they preventing that store from being better than it is? Are they preventing my high? Are they causing issues with my high performers?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking about that a lot. You know, in that if you talk about servant leadership and if you talk about people first, I think people have this perception that especially the people first concept, that it's almost socialistic. You know, that I'm going to work for this organization that's people first because I'll never get fired.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of people have that perception of what it means to be people first versus a profit first organization. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Just because it's not first doesn't mean it's not not important.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean,
if it's people first, then profit might be second or third on the list. It's still incredibly important, right?
so in a people first organization,
Mhm.
profit is the reason that I am structuring my organization to be a people first organization because I want greater profits.
Mhm.
You know, profit is not a bad word.
No.
You know, making money is not a bad word. Profit is not a bad word. You know, that's, you know, so instead of focusing on profits first, I'm focusing on people first. But the reason I'm focusing on people first is because I want greater profits.
Yeah.
And I think that some people view that kind of like it's an oxymoron, or that it's not, that it is socialist, that, or communist, you know, that I'm going to go work for a people first organization and I can be the biggest screw up ever because I'll never get fired. That's not what a people first organization is.
Well, it's not a people first organization. That's a me first organization.
Right. Anyway, that was something that had been on my mind for a little bit.
What else? You're the topic guy today.
I'm the topic guy. So you talked about evaluating. Okay, this is how you go about evaluating someone that may be in the wrong seat, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about you're sitting down having that conversation. You know, this is a firing. We're terminating your employee.
Mm-hmm.
Terminate me.
Mm-hmm.
Terminate me.
Terminate you right now.
Yeah.
Well, you probably know why you and I are meeting today.
Why? I'm gonna be very resistant. Okay.
You tell me you have no idea why you and I are meeting today?
No. What's going on, Hunter? How's things?
Things are great. What time did you get into work today?
I don't know. 1:15, 1:20.
And your shift started at 1, right?
Yeah, but I'll stay 15 minutes later.
But do you remember the last conversation we had about your attendance and how it was a final and how it was if there was another attendance issue that we would have to terminate
Yeah,
you?
but Mary came in 10 minutes late too. She was late.
I understand, and believe me, that's not going to go unaddressed. But we're not talking about Mary right now. We're talking about you.
Okay.
And so this is going to be your last day.
Oh, come on. I'll sue you. You can't fire me for that. Everybody else is 10, 15, 20 minutes late. You can't fire me. I'll take it up with HR.
Well, I'm glad you brought up HR because we do have a verbal, a written, a final, and today would be your fourth and final write-up. And per the company policy, it's 4 strikes and you're out, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're an ass. So, great. I mean, that in my, but
If it seemed too subdued, it's because
it is subdued for
it's,
you.
It's almost so whenever I'm working on my pass rush moves or in practice for the Ironman in the springtime, we always over exaggerate it, right? Because it's a little bit slower down. It's a little bit slower than actual game speed, so we're over exaggerating our movement there. So that come game speed's a little bit smoother. So I say that to say, if it looks like super subdued, it was because that's one thing that I'm constantly checking myself on when we have those crucial conversations and stakes are high.
Right.
Because I've got to keep my cool.
Oh, yeah. Because I mean, I know there are times where it's like, I wanted to blow up at the person, like, I really, and I was over exaggerating too. But we've had those, I mean, I know I've had those conversations with that type of individual.
Yeah.
Especially in our industry.
Because it's that victim mindset. They start pointing the finger. They start bringing up they start bringing up all of their stuff outside of work. And it's just really,
I was late because, my kid's sick. Yeah, but this isn't the first time. If this is the first time, it would have been a different conversation. This isn't the first time or the second. And depending upon what your handbook says, this is a policy we follow.
Yeah.
I think handbooks have to be very well crafted, or the one who is it, rule 1, there are no rules.
Yep.
Rule 2, read rule 1,
Yep.
But there are rules. I mean, there are rules we have to follow as an organization. Not rules. There are laws we have to follow as an organization.
Yeah.
But those are, I think firing people is a very difficult conversation. But it's also the something that a leader has to face.
And I think one thing that a lot of people who want to be leaders don't think about in the moment when they're wanting to become a leader.
Right.
Because again, then that goes back to the liked versus respect spectrum. There's a lot of shift leads and and team members who aspire to become an RGM, a DM, but they don't think about those conversations that they're going to have. And it's those conversations that then elicit gossip about you amongst the store, your image, or you might be perceived a little bit differently because you fired somebody and all of those things. And that's there's a weight with that most people don't think about when considering advancing in this career.
Would you rather be liked? Would you rather say, oh, I really like Hunter? And I know your answer, but I'm asking it for the camera more. I really like Hunter. Hunter's really fair.
The latter.
Yeah. He's fair. He's consistent. What he expects of me, he expects of everybody. Yeah.
And it's also, people don't understand that people actually are really yearning for that in their life, to be led.
Yeah.
But
guidance,
but it has to be by somebody they respect.
I know I've said this before. My first real job with a paycheck with my name printed on it that had taxes taken out of, right, was McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
It's my first like real paycheck job, and Medicare and Social Security and federal and state and local and all that stuff was McDonald's. And I think that every single, based upon that experience and what I learned, not just how to flip a burger or, dump some fries in a basket,
Mm-hmm.
you learn a work ethic. I mean, you learn a work ethic that I think can stick with you for the rest of your life, And so that's why I like the QSR industry, probably partly based upon my experiences. And I'm not saying that every single person in the world needs to work in the QSR industry for life, but I think it's a good, even if it's a, one season, one summer job for some people,
Mm-hmm.
or it's a job in high school, or it's a job while I'm going to college, studying pre-law or pre-med or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the work ethic that you learn in the QSR industry translates everywhere. Work ethic, the customer service side of it, all of that can translate everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
Not only that, but if people can set aside their pride for just a hot second, they might realize how explosive their career trajectory could be in this industry.
So yeah, I mean, you came into the QSR industry by a circuitous route that a lot of people don't come into the industry by, right? Most people come into the industry kind of from that first job was QSR, and then I, went up, and then it's like, oh, I want to find a vehicle that, I can make a profit at. I'm gonna look at owning, or
Mm-hmm.
like that. Where you came into it from already owning a business, very successfully, a bachelor's, and I mean, you came into it with a master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
What coming into it circularly like you did, non-traditional, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
correct? From most people in the QSR industry, you came in a non-traditional route,
Mm-hmm.
correct? So you came in with skills that weren't necessarily, quote, what we would call QSR skills, but you came in with skills.
Mm-hmm.
But what advice would you give to someone that came in the way that you came in? That, hey, I came into this and I was this. I was an owner of a successful owning my own business. I was successful in, my athletic career. I was successful in the insurance industry, blah. But what would you say that you learned in this industry since coming into it?
The same thing I would tell people who came into it traditionally, and that is to stop seeing it as a stepping stone or a pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who comes in the traditional route, or if you have a serious habit of showing up and have a great attitude, you will go far. Somebody who came in the way that I did, the non-traditional route, stop seeing it as a stepping stone or a pit stop while you figure things out and then go off and do something else, because you have so many skills that you might actually have a kill set instead of a skill set, because you're going to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
So
one thing you said there that really, I think, the biggest skill for anyone in this industry is attitude. Touch on that. I mean, we've had great employees with bad attitudes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we knew weren't going to last.
Yeah.
Like you talk about the victim mindset or the self-sabotage, or, these people are really good at this job, but their attitude sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Or we've had people that have had really positive attitudes,
Mm-hmm.
but their skill set is lacking. How, talk about that a little bit. My thing, the job is 80%,
Yeah. Yeah. Or more.
or
Yeah.
more, depending on what position you're in. 80% attitude, 20% skill.
Mm-hmm.
I can teach you skill. I can't teach you attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that.
Well, in this industry, it's high stakes. There's lots of stress. There's lots of things being handled simultaneously by everybody on a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't a whole lot of bright lights because of that, in terms of somebody who's coming in and is being a beacon of enthusiasm. Doesn't happen. So if you come in with a good attitude, then you are already ahead of 80% or more of your peers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can show up every day like that, well, then that's going to start through just purely osmosis, changing the culture of that store. Because when people will know that no matter what, they can at least count on Hunter to be in a good mood,
Mm-hmm.
Hunter to motivate us, Hunter to try and pick us up when things aren't going too well. And that would lend itself into, I think, the one thing that I would impart or encourage every leader in this industry to do, or to learn how to do, is tell stories. It's an intangible that is so very tangible when compounded over time. If a manager or a shift lead or a district manager is dangerous at telling stories, they can lead.
By dangerous, you mean good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can lead.
So I'm going to tell a story about attitude in employees. And you know this story because I tell it a lot. But so at one of my stores, actually throughout the whole history of our organization, all the time frame, this person was the longest hourly paid employee that we ever had. I think he worked for 18 years, maybe. I can't remember exactly. He had Down syndrome, and he had. I would tell his managers, or I would tell other managers at other stores. I'd use him as an example a lot in training and team meetings. So I wish every single one of my employees had his attitude.
Mm-hmm.
He loved being at work. He couldn't wait to come to work. He'd beg his parents to drive him to work. And he became a very, I don't want to, he wasn't a figurehead for us. He became a very valuable team member. It was not like, oh, look at us, we're great for having this kid. He became a vital and crucial part of the team. He was very crucial in terms of customer service. He wiped down tables. He filled ice machines. He swept floors. Probably for the first 10, 12 years of working for us, that's all he did. He didn't make sandwiches. He didn't prep or prepare items or anything like that. All he did was that. But when he was working, the stores, the attitudes of the employees, the customer service, the stores ran phenomenally.
Mm-hmm.
He had nothing to do with it. But his attitude, like you said,
Had everything to do with it.
Had everything to do with it and rubbed off on everything. Like you just said, enthusiasm is contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that just to drive home how important attitude and enthusiasm is in the QSR industry and in your job.
Mm-hmm.
We all wake up with the, I don't want to go to work today. I don't want to do the work.
And there's no better anecdote than this one here, because it's really sobering. It's really sobering on the importance of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So I had somebody who worked for me one time, was as bubbly as the day is long. Everybody on that shift knew that they had her that they could count on for at least just being fun, making work fun.
It was going to be a good day at work.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun day, a good day at work, right?
And then there was another employee who, like you said, a phenom, tactically, strategically,
Mhm.
on the line, great at their job. Victim mindset, had a problem for every solution, and had a general dark malaise about her and life.
Woe is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one gal that worked for me, she said, "Hey, I'm having something medically done. I don't know how we're gonna do this." And so then all I did was I put a cup, a large cup, and I just said, "So and so's fund." And within 24 hours, that gal that worked for me went up and checked that cup, and it had everything in there to cover the expense of the medical bill. When I tried that same strategy for the other person,
Yeah.
it was empty.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so if that doesn't speak volumes about the importance of just having a good attitude, the people around you, like, what is it Maya Angelou said? People in the end, people won't care what you did, what you said. They'll remember how you made them feel.
Hmm. Yeah. I remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
Yep. So, bringing this back now to firing.
Hmm.
Phenomenal. A phenom, in your word, killing it. Bad attitude. Great positive attitude, but not as good worker,
Hmm.
good skill set as this person.
Hmm.
You have to fire one of them. Who are you firing?
The technician.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Because
Do you want to work under a cloud or under sunshine?
okay. Yeah, yeah.
I worked shifts with both of them.
I mean, we all have.
Technically, the cloud, yeah, numbers pretty good, but everybody was stressed and everybody was this and that, and just like looking at their watches. We're working a shift with the other person. Yeah, we were still great on all the metrics, but God, we had a lot of fun too.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I think that I know. In fact, I tell my people that work for me now, I demand that we have fun. Like,
Yeah.
as long as we're performing,
What is my say? The balance. You got to find that balance though.
between a circus and a morgue.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balance between a circus and a morgue.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Next.
How do you deal with? So I don't necessarily subscribe to the saying leave your personal lives at the door. I mean, we're all humans. We all have personal lives. I think it's really hard to divorce yourself from what's happening in your personal life at work.
Hmm.
It's very hard to do. And I think it's a hard thing to ask people to do. Someone's mother died 5 days ago. It's going to impact them at work. But how do you find that balance between that saying, leave your personal life at the door, and hey, we're here to get the job done? How do you find that balance? How do you find that empathy to feel with that employee who had something big happen in their lives, in their personal lives, that is going to impact work. How do you coach, walk through with that person that saying, leave your personal life at the door?
So my dad died on September 5th, 2005. I was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Freshman in high school. Next day I went to school. Went to football practice. Just carried on. And that's as a 14-year-old. Life's going to show up.
Mm-hmm. But everybody's not Hunter, right?
Huh?
Everybody's not Hunter.
Yeah, everybody's not Hunter, but I mean, if it's not 14-year-old Hunter, then take it back to 2.5 years ago Hunter, where I was humbled to the point where the only job that I couldn't find was as a sandwich artist at Subway. You think I was ever going to miss a day of fucking work?
Mm-hmm.
Like I lost everything. Almost lost my marriage. Show up. Who cares?
So how do you lead or manage? I mean, your responsibility is
That word right there.
okay. But your responsibility
If you want to feel everything that you're feeling, then you come in here and you feel it with us.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a responsibility to your family to keep showing up.
Yeah, show up.
Because what's the story you're going to tell them when you're 80? What's the story that they're going to tell you, your kids, when you're 80? You know what? No matter what happened, Mom, no matter what happened, Dad, you went to work to make sure that we were okay.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what happened.
But I like what you said. You started down that. Show up, and we'll feel with you.
Mm-hmm. Because in this industry, with the stakes being as high as they get sometimes, and some of the things that we all have to go through on a single shift, whether it's unruly customers or just the craziness of rushes or being totally unprepared for a rush that should not have happened according to the forecasted projections, and we just are just scrambling to get through it. There's a lot of that bonding and
Teamwork, camaraderie,
and mutual suffering like that. And so it's just like, where else are you gonna go? We'll come in here and we'll suffer through it together with you.
That's people first. In my mind, that's people first. So if you have a people first organization,
mm-hmm.
and you know that you're going through something in your life personally, and you work for an organization that's people first, show up, because your teammates, and I don't want to say, I have a hard time with calling, we're your family at work, but your teammates are going to support you through that.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if you don't show up, it's just going to get worse. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
It goes back to the stories that you tell. And then also, like we talked about last time, or maybe 2 times ago, the story that you're inviting them into.
So how do you as the leader of an organization, of a district, of a region, of a unit,
mm-hmm.
foster that mentality that, you know what, I just went through some crap, but I know that when I go to work tomorrow or 2 days or whatever, my coworkers, my teammates, my boss, my boss's boss, my boss's boss's boss, they're going to support me through it. How do you foster that?
You just do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
You're going to talk about it or you're going to be about it. Yeah, that person might be a mess and a complete pain in the ass and quite honestly slowing you down.
Mm-hmm.
But they're here despite of the tragedy that just happened in their life yesterday.
Mhm.
But I'd rather that than the alternative, which is them not showing up. And I really do think that that is a better alternative to show up, because not only do you show them that the team can be there for them, and maybe it's, hey, even just something as simple as bringing them a donut from Dunkin',
Mm-hmm.
their favorite donut from Dunkin' that morning. Hey, I'm here. We're with you. All right, we give my gas card. If it's something financial, like, hey, here you go.
What you're saying, people work for a
Paycheck, but die for recognition.
Mhm.
Then also but then also thinking more about them at a deeper level, is that you would hope that if they can prove to themselves that they showed up despite what happened to them yesterday, the 2 days before, they showed up and did their job anyway, well, then that's going to put a deposit in the confidence account for them. And I think that's one thing that we don't tend to think about when we say, no, show up to work.
And I think
At
that
some point, it's about the business, yes, absolutely. But then at the same time, it's going to be way more pleasant than you think, because we're all going to be here for you. And then secondly, that you're going to prove something to yourself that there's more to you than you thought there was.
and I think that showing up for work after a tragedy or whatever, I think that philosophy is more prevalent in what someone would say a real job. You know my feelings on that.
Mm-hmm.
Than the QSR industry. Oh, it's just McDonald's. I'm not going to show up. Oh, it's just, I'm just stuffing tacos, or I'm just making sandwiches, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it applies to every job.
Mm-hmm.
Touch on that. And I guess that's a little bit of the victim mindset in a way, in that, or the real job fake syndrome, oh, it's just QSR. So it's okay if I don't show up. I'm just going to call in and say, my kid went through this and I'm late for work, or I'm having this, or, my third cousin twice removed on my mother's side is sick and I want to be there. I think there is a mindset that people have to overcome, that it's just QSR versus I'm a nurse, or I'm a doctor, or I'm a teacher, or I'm a, fireman or policeman or something.
I think it goes back to the expectations that you set during onboarding and orientation. Are you really hitting and driving that point home about this being a real job?
Mm-hmm.
About this being an actual opportunity? That they have they just essentially won the lottery ticket. But the only way you win the lottery in this industry is with the right mindset and attitude. But if you have the right mindset and attitude, then you can quite literally win the lottery. Because the trajectory and how fast you can get there, relatively speaking, is the only other industry that's comparable is financial.
Yeah.
Is the financial industry.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
Sales in general. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think it goes back to the expectations there. But then if this is an employee that you inherited, so that isn't on the table, then hopefully you can tell a really damn good story about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And how you got to the position that you're in, assuming that you're a leader in your organization. It would come down to the story, in my opinion, because you can talk about the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, based on such and such a study, this is this, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, well, that's great, but there were so many times where the people that work with me now, who, whether in interview when I interviewed them or during one-on-ones when I inherited them, and they're talking about how much money they want to make and what they want to do, this and the other thing. And And then I tell them, well, what if I told you I was exactly where you were less than 2 years ago? How much money did you say you wanted to make? Okay, well, you know that you're only like 2 levels away from that amount of money. That's what somebody asked me. That's what somebody told me the other day. I want to make $160,000 a year. $160,000 a year. Don't know where that number came from, but the fact of the matter is, you're a shift lead right now. You're like 2 runs away from that. You get to be a district manager. Like there, you're right there.
Mhm.
You're right there, right? So maybe you don't need to go into this other industry altogether that you want to pursue. You might be exactly where you need to be in order to hit that number, if that's what's important to you. 'Cause I
Right.
did ask you what you wanted,
Right.
and you said you want $160,000. So is it to matter what vehicle that you're in, as long as you get to that number,
Mhm.
or is it about the vehicle? Because I asked you what you wanted, you said the number. Well, you're in a vehicle to get you to that number, right? So I mean, what story are you telling?
So I had a number in my head, a goal. So I looked at QSR initially as the vehicle to reach the number. And so for my initial getting into the QSR was a vehicle to reach the number.
Mm-hmm.
And then after being in it, the goal of the number changed. You know, I mean that goal was still there. You know, I want to make this much money.
Mm-hmm.
But then my goals changed once I got more into the QSR industry. So then my goals became less financially focused and more development focused, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
and growth focused.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that like the book So Good They Can't Ignore You. Cal Newport talks about what is that dream job elixir for you? Is it money or is it development?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it work-life balance?
Mm-hmm.
So that's important to figure out.
Right.
Because then no matter where you go, or I guess when you develop something he would call career capital, then you can position yourself more to whatever that dream job is based on what it is that you actually want. Money, work-life balance, development.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not half bad at this.
Huh?
You're not half bad at this.
No, this is good. What?
Just waiting for the next question. You got one more in you?
I don't think so. I think this. I mean, it was. I wanted to go into this about people first, or servant leadership, and how do we, as if that's our focus, people first, servant leadership. How do we fire people?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that sounds so counterintuitive almost in a way, or people would think it sounds counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I don't think it is.
No.
You know, I think sometimes, I don't want this to sound like fluff, but I think sometimes it's a kindness. No, I think sometimes it's a kindness. You know, I know that there are people that I've had to fire that went on to greater and better things than I could ever have imagined for them, or that I even saw in them, you know.
It's like somebody holding on. It's like somebody's got a piece of razor wire wrapped around their hand and they're tied to a pole and they just keep pulling as hard as they can.
Mhm.
And it's digging into their flesh and it's bleeding. It's painful. And then you just come with a bolt cutter and just,
Yeah,
and then they're free.
right.
They're not in pain anymore. Right?
Yeah. But yeah, I think sometimes managers, leaders, you know, they get, and which I do, get hung up on having to fire or firing people. And if you look at it like, you know, I had to let this person go for the good of the other people that are working for me,
Mm-hmm.
for the good of the organization,
Mm-hmm.
or for the good of that person, of that individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think this was a good topic.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
No, I think that's it.
Thanks, guys.
Oh.